Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for African News with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, following the October ouster of President Blaise Campaoré, calls for an investigation into the death of a murdered journalist are gathering in strength. Also, faith in security forces, both national and foreign, operating in Democratic Republic of Congo, has taken a battering recently, mainly over struggles to contain the rampages of Ugandan refugees blamed for recent massacres in North-Kivu province. And NIOKOBOK'S glory, a Senegalese online grocery delivery service, is giving expats living abroad peace of mind by making it easier for them to send living essentials straight to the doorsteps of family left behind. First up, French President François Hollande heads out to Guinea on a tour of Africa on Friday. Now, ahead of his trip, he's told France 24 that the recent ouster of Burkina Faso's president is a warning to other leaders on the continent hoping to overstay their welcome. Blaise Campaoré fled last month after mass protests erupted over his bid to extend his 27 years in power. Hollande says he advised Campaoré against trying to extend his mandate, but could only do so much.
I didn't remain silent at all during the crisis. I even wrote to President Campaoré before he made the decision to try and change the constitution. But I never regarded my relationship with African heads of state as something defined by influence or dominance or submission. That goes totally against my view on Franco-African relations. On the contrary, France always promotes values that are shared among us.
Well, Burkina Faso's interim parliament met for the first time on Thursday, just days after the new government lineup was announced. It's already accepted, though, one resignation this week. Demonstrators accused the appointed culture minister of not doing enough to investigate the murder of a top journalist back in 1998. Adama Sagnon was prosecutor when the probe into Norbert Zongo's death was dismissed in 2006.
The Norbert Zongo Avenue in the Parisian offices of Reporters Without Borders. The NGO has urged authorities in Burkina Faso to reopen the investigation into the death of the journalist Norbert Zongo in 1998. His killers have never been identified.
Before, charges were dropped because the government did everything in its power to stop the investigation. Now we really hope the interim government will change things and reopen the case.
Today, following the October ousting of President Campaoré, nothing seems to be standing in the way of reopening the case, especially since documents concerning Zongo's murder were recently found in the looted house of François Campaoré, the deposed president's younger brother. They allegedly link François Campaoré to the assassination. But many of these reports have since been stolen and sold on the streets of the capital, prompting Zongo's lawyer to call on the people of Burkina Faso to return the evidence. 16 years after his death, Norbert Zongo's family hopes justice will be done.
It's really in the best interest of the interim government to reopen this case, because everyone is now watching them. We cannot just leave François Campaoré, who's responsible for my husband's death. We need to issue an international arrest warrant against him.
At the time of his death, Zongo was working on a story about how François Campaoré's driver was tortured and killed in 1998 for allegedly stealing money from his employer. The charges against the president's brother were also dropped.
Confidence in UN peacekeepers in Democratic Republic of Congo have taken a knock after 6 Ukrainian troops were found with Congolese military uniforms stashed in their luggage. Meanwhile, this week the UK suspended aid for DRC police over allegations that they'd killed or abducted dozens of people in a gang crackdown in Kinshasa. Well, faith in security forces has suffered recently, particularly in North-Kivu province, where they're struggling to defeat Ugandan rebels who've massacred up to 200 people over the last month. Our correspondent sent us this report.
15 years old, is one of the rare survivors of the massacres that have recently hit the region. After 3 weeks of coma, he woke up just a few days ago.
He's
been hit with machetes and an axe on his head. That's why he's paralyzed for now.
Every day, these physiotherapists try to retrain his damaged body. The progress is slow. His father, always around, is still shocked. The attack has killed one of his sons and left the other one dying.
I just want one thing, that my son gets better. I'm so angry. I hope that those who hurt him will be captured and burned. We were living in peace in our village. Everything was fine. We still don't understand why we were attacked and by who. We're very scared that they might come back.
Who is responsible for the death of 200 civilians in a month and a half? According to the authorities, it's the Ugandan rebels of the ADF. But none of the attackers have been identified. Rumors, paranoia, the panic is everywhere, like during this funeral.
We are scared. We just found leaflets from the ADF Nalu.
Mysterious leaflets threaten reprisals against the population. Local authorities are completely helpless.
If the situation continues like this, where is the population going to go? The UN mission in DRC, the Congolese army and the police, they have to help us.
After these repeated massacres, the UN and the Congolese army try to reinforce the security. The danger is potentially everywhere, behind these houses or in the forest, where the Ugandan rebels have been based for the last 20 years. Congolese soldiers and blue helmets are patrolling, but that night the UN soldiers are even more on their guard, as their convoy has been attacked the night before.
Okay. So they are worried about what happened yesterday, and we will do this patrol and every night patrol to assure them that we came here to security them from any clashes or from any terrorists. We will continue our patrols after anything happens.
It's impossible to be everywhere at the same time. That night, 10 kilometers from there, unidentified attackers left 2 villages without being apprehended after having killed 100 civilians.
On Thursday, Tanzania's Prime Minister sidestepped calls to resign over alleged illegal payments to a private power company. Opposition MPs claimed senior government officials fraudulently authorized payments of around $122 million in public funds. The parliamentary watchdogs accused Prime Minister MIZENGO PINDA of dereliction of duty and recommended that he quit. His fate will be decided when MPs vote on the matter on Friday. Finally, we turn to Senegal, where a new company that arranges doorstop deliveries of shopping ordered from abroad is giving expats looking out for their loved ones peace of mind. Take a look. Shelley Sitbin has the details.
Gaston Badji, a Senegalese man living in Paris with his wife and children, used to send money to family still in Dakar. But the transfers were expensive, and he couldn't guarantee his relatives would use the cash to buy food. So he turned to another solution. Gaston's now buying supplies like rice, oil, sugar and soap directly from Senegalese website NIOKOBOK'S.
It's much more practical to buy the products on the site. If my family had received money, it could have spent it on something else and then asked for extra cash. Now I know they will get the products I ordered.
The service was set up 2 years ago. Orders placed in Paris are sent to this 5-person team in Dakar, who then prep the goods for their final destination. Expats trying to help out from abroad say it's a practical way to make sure loved ones get the staples they need.
Many of our clients have elderly parents, and for them, it's easier to have these large and heavy products brought all the way to their doorstep.
Many packages weigh about 50 kilograms, and for an average family, last about a month. Some recipients, though, say they still like getting remittances from time to time.
I like both options, getting money and food deliveries. I need some cash to pay certain expenses.
The company sells about 17,000 euros of stock a month. Orders come mainly from France and also from Guinea, Ethiopia, the US and Japan.
That wraps up African news for me. Stay with us, so short break and more news and headlines from around the world coming up.